The program will be started with Quran recitation, and it will be recited by Imam Ahmad Abu Atiyah.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ألم تر كيف ضرب الله مثلا كلمة طيبة كشجرة طيبة أصلها ثابت وفرعها في السماء تؤتي أكلها كل حين بإذن ربها ويضرب الله الأمثال للناس لعلهم يتذكرون ومثل كلمة خبيثة كشجرة خبيثة اجتثت من فوق الأرض ما لها من قرار يثبت الله الذين آمنوا بالقول الثابت في الحياة الدنيا وفي الآخرة ويضل الله الظالمين ويفعل الله ما يشاء. The translation for the verse I recited: Have you not considered the example Allah gives? A good word like a good tree. Its root is firmly fixed and its branches extend into the sky. It continuously produces fruit by permission of its Lord. And Allah gives examples for people to remind them. And the example for a bad word is like a bad tree, uprooted from the surface of the earth, not having any stability. Allah keeps firm those who believe with the firm word in this life and in the hereafter. And Allah lets the wrongdoers be misled. And Allah does what He wills.
Jazakumullah khairan, brother Sheikh Ahmed of Umar, for the beautiful recitation. So inshallah, my name is Walid Shadi. I'm the chair of the convention today. Welcome to the 12th annual mass convention. Thank you all for joining us today. I think you will have a good time today, inshallah, and today's lectures will be beneficial for every one of us, inshallah Rabbil Alameen. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make this gathering a blessing and to make it a successful convention, inshallah. We are extremely blessed to have with us today great speakers from around the United States who are spending their Saturday here with us, inshallah, to impart us with their knowledge so that we can learn and grow as individuals and as a community too. On behalf of Mass Minnesota, I would like to thank each and every one of them for dedicating their time to be with us today. The theme of today's convention is Together for a Better Tomorrow, inshallah. As Muslims, it is our duty and obligation to have active roles in this society. We are a part of this society we live in, and we need to exercise our voice in our community. Doing so will ensure a better future, not just for ourselves, but more importantly, for our children and for future generations. As we establish ourselves and create a stronger presence for ourselves in this community, we are heard and acknowledged more. And we can only do this by coming together. As you will hear from our many scholars today, together we can achieve much more than we ever can individually. Each one of us has something unique to offer, and each one of us can contribute to our society as a whole. Working together has always been an important aspect of Islam. It is the responsibility of all Muslims to honor this and make an effort to overcome our differences and work towards establishing a successful community. I'm excited for what the scholars and lecturers will teach us today. I would like to thank the Minneapolis Convention planning team for all the hours that they have put in to make this a successful convention and event. Also, we could not have this day without the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala first, and then our volunteers, especially the Mass Minnesota youth. These young adults dedicated hours of their time, their weekends and evenings to ensure the success of the convention. Inshallah, we'll start today with our beautiful and sheikhs, inshallah, who came from the United States. We'll start with our beloved Sheikh Kamal, inshallah, Rabbil Alameen.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسوله الأمين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد. First of all, I'd like to begin by thanking you for coming early, and there should be a prize for every one of you. I want to start with an exercise, and it's a little bit of a weird exercise here. It is to test how evil you are. Okay? So here's the scenario. There is a large masjid, and not far from it, there's a small institute that does Islamic teachings and Quran and things like that. Now, this institute is operating within the territory of this masjid. Yes, territories and stuff like that. Now, they're bringing a very famous speaker, and they're going to have a fundraising dinner. And the funds they will raise, they will use that to expand the institute. The masjid wants to kill and make the fundraising event a complete failure. What is the best way to make this fundraising event fail and nobody will go to it? Or what's the best way to kill it so it doesn't raise funds and they don't grow their institute? You work for this masjid now and you have to think evil. What would you do? Have an event at the same time. Very good, but not evil enough. Have an event at the same time. People, so then you split their funds a little bit. Very good. Yeah? Yes, sir. So, what? Yeah. But they're still having the fundraising event. They've printed out the flyers and everything. That speaker is coming. How do we stop them? Talk negatively about them. All right? Naam? Stop the speaker, call him and say, don't go to this group that's inviting you. They're very bad people. We know them. We're their people. Okay, anything. You guys are nice, man. You know, well, that's a good thing that you're not doing good in this exercise. Because if one brother puts his hand up and says, and gives me the answer, I'd be like, watch out for that guy. Yes? What's that? Fire alarm? Fire alarm, huh? Okay. Yes? Trash the masjid. They will still have the event. The event is not in the masjid. It's at a hotel with a dinner. Trash the hotel? Well, we're getting into illegal stuff here. Yes, young man. Do what? Sue them? Okay. Don't attend. Okay, you guys are very nice people. Let me tell you how you do it, okay? And you can use this, inshallah, in the future. No, don't use this in the future. What are you nodding for? Look, they're going to have their fundraising event. They're bringing a very popular speaker. He'll bring a huge audience. And let's say they want to raise $340,000. That's what they want to raise. So you send 2 of your people, and they buy tickets to the fundraising event, and they sit in the audience. And then the fundraiser starts. Who will donate $100,000? And so your guy puts his hands up, and he pledges $100,000. MashaAllah, barakallah feek, Allahu Akbar, takbir. We need another person who will donate 100,000, and your other guy puts his hands up, inshallah, 100,000. So now the fundraiser thinks we've got 200,000, we need to raise 140. So then he's like going into 5s and 1s and 2s and $500 and $100 and takbirs and all that stuff. And in the end, maybe let's say he raised another $70,000 or $80,000. All right, so now in his mind, he's raised 280. The goal was 340, but 280 isn't bad. Now the 80,000, their pledges. And you know, you don't get all your pledges. They might get 40, they might get 50. And then, of course, the hotel ballroom and the dinner and all that cost them another $30,000, and maybe in the speaker, his flight and his hotel and all that stuff. So he thinks we got 280. Of that 80, they might even get 50. And of that 50, they're going to spend all their expenses. So then after the event, they call the two who pledged the 100, and the guy says, oh, I'm very sorry, some things came up, you know, my business burnt down, whatever, and I can't commit to the 100,000, I can't give you anything. And the other guy says, I can't give you anything. So in the end, this whole event, what did they get? Probably $20,000 or $15,000. That's how you do it the evil way. Now, here's the bad news. This is a true story. That's the bad news. This is the ummah that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells in the Quran, إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ إِخْوَةً. إِنَّمَا, it was too much reverb before. Yallah. It's a word that shows, it's an exclusive word, that the believers are nothing but brothers. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran. And what is strange is that you cannot love to claim to love the Prophet ﷺ so much, you claim to love him so much, and then hate his ummah so much. And you can see there's absolutely no love in the scenario that I just gave. And the sad part is that both groups were upon the same methodology, the same belief. They did not have any difference religiously, but they were just, you're operating on my territory. And these territories, they do exist. I was doing a class once for like 10 young men in a basement. You want to switch? No, we're good? No. 10 young men in a basement, and this imam was like causing us all these problems. So I went to his office. I said, listen, 10 young men learning fiqh, what's the problem? He said, well, I didn't know that was the case, but you should have gotten my permission. I said, why? He said, because this is my territory. Straight up, he told me, this is my territory. So we can be upon the same methodology, same belief, but don't mess with my territory. The question is, when should we separate? When is a separation legitimate? And that's when we disagree over fundamental issues of belief. Meaning, in our masjid, let's say we have a group that says, oh, we believe so-and-so is the final prophet of Allah after Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And if you guys don't agree with us, we're going to separate and start our own masjid. By all means, separate and start your own masjid. Because now we disagreed over the fundamentals of the religion. But if we have two groups, one group says, you know, we pray with our hands like this, the other group with like this, and we're going to start our own masjid, that is not worth starting a masjid over. But the problem is now, we make issues of fiqh greater than issues of aqeedah. Here's another true story. An imam I met in Australia told me this story. He gave an announcement, and the announcement was very, very harsh. So I asked him, why was your announcement so harsh? Why were you being so hard on the people? He said, you don't understand this audience. He said, one time in the middle of a Jumu'ah khutbah, everyone with me? In the middle of a Jumu'ah khutbah, a brother got up. He says, brothers and sisters, do not pray behind this khatib. I was in the bathroom and I saw him wipe over his socks, and his socks were not made of leather. And what happened? A group of people got up from the middle of the Jum'ah khutbah and walked out the door. This is an issue of fiqh, where people disagree on this issue, but he made it so important. Now imagine the man got up and he said, brothers and sisters, do not pray behind this imam, because he does not believe that Allah Azza wa Jalla is upon his throne. And Allah mentioned multiple times in the Quran that he is upon his throne. This man doesn't believe that. What do you think would happen? People would tell him, yeah, brother, these are issues of disagreement, and let's not split the ummah over this, brother. Sit down. But when issues of fiqh, they've become like issues of belief, like aqeedah issues of creed, which were the real serious ones. If you look at the madahib, they disagree over issues of fiqh, but they all agree on aqeedah issues. But we've made that the most important thing. So if we disagree on the fundamentals of the religion, one group believes there are 6 prayers in the day and they want to start their own masjid, start your own masjid. I'm not going to say for the sake of unity, we want you guys to stay with us. No, we don't want you to stay with us. Or those who believe there's a prophet after Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we're not going to tell them for the sake of unity, stay with us, one community. No, we're not one community. But all the other issues, we can bypass, we can set aside, because it does not warrant a split, a division. So, I just want to mention 3 points concerning unity and staying together. Number one, if we disagree over an issue, we take our disagreement as far as that one issue and that one issue only. We don't go beyond it. I have a difference with you over one belief. Then that's as far as I take my issue with you. Over this one belief, we disagree. Over everything else, we're friends. We go out to lunch together, to dinner. You come over to my house. If people ask me about you, I say positive things about you. Let me reference the Battle of Siffin. This is a battle that took place and between the army of Ali radiallahu anhu and the army of Muawiyah radiallahu anhu. And this was the most unique battle in human history, and there will never be a battle like this before again. The two camps would be fighting during the day. And then when the battle is over, you leave your army and you go into the camp of the other army. And people from this army come into your camp and they sit with each other and they chit chat and they eat together. And then they might even laugh. And then, okay, see you tomorrow in the battlefield, inshallah. And everyone goes back to their place. Why? Because the Sahaba and those people, they could clearly separate. The problem I have with you is this one issue. We disagree over this one issue and that's it. Beyond that, I love you. I still believe you're a righteous person. If you want to marry my sister, I would give her to you. I don't think you're a wicked person because we disagree on one issue. I just think you're wrong on one issue. But they didn't let it spill over to everything else. Today, when we disagree with someone, everything about them is bad. And we cancel out their life activities. We'll cancel everything. I never liked him to begin with. And his children are ugly also. And we go into all kinds of things. But why? Why couldn't you just take it up until this point only? Even with scholars, we do this all the time. Do not ever listen to Sheikh so-and-so. And I'm talking about a major scholar. Why? Because of his fatwa on this issue and that issue. So wait a minute. Of all the things he's been talking about, and he's an old man and he's been speaking before you were born, there are 2 fatwas that most people don't like, right? Yes. So you're saying don't take anything from this scholar? Why didn't you say learn from this scholar but just avoid these 2 fatwas? Why didn't you say that? You just canceled all his life work, everything about him, his place in the community, because you disagreed on one issue? Take this message from the Battle of Siffin. I disagree with you on one thing, and that's it. It's never going to spill into anything else beyond that. But when we disagree, it spills into everything. I see you in the masjid and I don't smile in your face. Khalas, one issue, just keep it to that one issue. So that's the first thing. Do not let the disagreement spill into other things. Keep it on that one issue and that one issue only. Be fair how you evaluate people. The second thing, and don't let it spill into the past of the person. I never liked him, and then you go back into everything he did in the past was not good, and every lecture is cancelled and take it off the internet and all that. The other thing is that we can't all be the same. So we really need to learn to appreciate the differences and to appreciate that you are doing something that I'm not doing. In the old days, I used to travel teaching this workshop I had called How to Give a Shahada in 10 Minutes. So it's teaching da'wah to non-Muslims. And I would meet groups that believe in their philosophy, they believe that you should only give da'wah to Muslims. And only after all the Muslims are praying in the masajid, then you can give da'wah to non-Muslims. Of course, clearly I don't agree with that. And the Prophet didn't do that either, give da'wah all over the place. So this group would always come to me at the event and try to tell me that what you're doing is wrong. We need to give da'wah to Muslims only. Because you're just looking at it, if you zoom out and look at the community as a whole, you will appreciate the fact that we have people in our Muslim community who are involved with civil rights. You have people in our community involved with politics. And I hate that. I could never do that. If everyone in the community was like me, politically, we would be a disaster. I hate politics. I don't want to deal with politics. And I'm very thankful that there are others who can tolerate that nonsense. May Allah give them strength. Go for it. Go and work. I appreciate the differences in our community. I like the fact that there is a group involved with giving da'wah to Muslims only. And the fact that there is a group who gives da'wah to non-Muslims. And a group dealing with politics. And a group dealing with the media. And a group that cares about things, feeding the poor within America, helping out people who are, refugees outside of the US. And there's a group in America involved now with homes for elderly, for the Muslims. This is an issue, this is a new issue. But now I met groups that they recognize that there are a lot of elderly individuals, male and female, who family members passed away, they were alone here, what have you, and they need homes now to be in. This is something new. It's not my field. I'm so happy that someone is going to deal with that. I appreciate the differences in the community. And if everyone were the same, it would be a complete utter failure and a complete utter disaster. So we can't all be the same. And I shouldn't want to try to get you to do what I do. Everybody loves what they do, and they think it's superior, so I don't want you to stop what you're doing, come do what I do. This happened to Imam Malik, rahimahullah, the great Imam Malik. And one of the zuhad, one of the people who left the worldly life and the materialism, wrote him a letter. And look at this letter and tell me if it's reasonable to send to a scholar who is a faqih and a muhaddith, someone who sits and teaches the knowledge of the Prophet ﷺ. He tells him that you shouldn't wear your fancy clothes. He used to wear nice clothing because this is, he deals with the public and he teaches the hadith. So he used to wear nice clothes. He tells him you shouldn't wear these nice clothes. And you should step away from the people and go find a place in seclusion and pray, like find a cave or something and sit there for days and just worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Which, by the way, as an interesting point, the Prophet ﷺ used to spend sometimes a month in the cave of Hira, right? And he would sit there and he used to love al-khala, to be alone. But what's interesting is after Jibreel alayhi salam came to the Prophet ﷺ and given the message of Islam, do you know of any narration that the Prophet ﷺ went and sat in a cave after that? Do you? Never. Have you ever heard the Prophet ﷺ went and sat alone in a cave after Jibreel came to him? You know why? Because now he has a different job. He was sitting in the cave to contemplate, what is this about? Now you have the answers, and you're the Prophet of Allah, and now you have to teach. So now he has to be with people, not in a cave. So this man thinks he's giving the Imam good advice. Go stay alone and worship Allah and so on. So the Imam writes him a letter back, and he began it so beautifully. He tells him, إِنَّ اللَّهَ قَسَّمَ الْأَعْمَالِ كَمَا قَسَّمَ الْأَرْزَاقِ. He tells him that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala distributed people's deeds the same way He distributed wealth. Allah Azza wa Jal made this man extremely wealthy. This man is just middle class. This person is poor. This guy is in the middle between the two, and so on and so forth. The same way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave this person the ability to be really good at Qiyamul Layl. This other person is really good at fasting, but he doesn't do Qiyam. This other person, he doesn't do Qiyam or fasting, but he gives a lot in charity. That's his thing. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will facilitate something for you, and you go and you run with it. But I don't come and try to stop. The guy who does Qiyam doesn't come and knock on the fasting guy's door and says, listen, do you know about the virtues of Qiyam? Stop all this fasting and come with me, let me show you how we do it. The guy who fasts doesn't do the opposite either. Everybody's been given a different talent, a different skill, a different ability, and we appreciate the fact that people are different. And that makes communities strong. So we don't have territories. We don't try to make everyone do what we're doing, or belittle you because you have no interest in politics and politics is the future of the Muslim community. No. What if everyone just did politics? Like who would do education? Who would do tarbiyah? I appreciate the differences in our community. So, number one, do not let the problem spill into other issues. Just that one issue. Nothing beyond that. There's this story I really like, and I really like Abraham Lincoln actually, okay? I really, really like him because of his akhlaq. It has nothing to do with freeing the slaves, okay? And one day, there's this general who used to really hate Abraham Lincoln. And a man asked him what he thought of that general. Now, imagine this. Someone in the community really hates you. He's always bad-mouthing you. So somebody asks you, what do you think of that brother who hates you and is always bad-mouthing you? So Abraham Lincoln spoke about the general beautifully and praised him so much. So then when it was over, a man tells him, hey, you praised that general so much. Do you know what he says about you? Do you know what he thinks of you? And he said, yes, I do know. But he didn't ask me what he thinks of me. He asked me what I thought of him. Yeah? No? Nobody's moved by that? Everyone's just like, somebody say, whoa. MashaAllah. Thank you very much. Yes. Excellent. So it's so amazing that, I know this guy says bad things about me, but I was supposed to answer what I thought of him. And even though he hates me, I think he's a good person. And I think he does his job very well. And I think he's exceptional. I can be honest like that. I won't let it spill into other things. I hate him because he hates me, or because he made this one mistake, everything about him is bad. And so, let me tell you something. Going back to the aqeedah versus fiqh issues. Issues of fiqh, we don't fight over. We don't fight over. One time, a fight broke out in the masjid. This is a true story. Uncles punching each other, jumping off the minbar, elbows and all that stuff. Having a fight. Someone called the police to break up the fight. So they came, and most masajid, the prayer area, the minbar is way in the front and the doors are in the back. So the police came to break up this fight. They walked into the masjid with their shoes. They don't know. You take off your shoes. They just walked in, and the people stopped in mid-fight. They were like this. Couldn't believe it that people entered with their shoes. And suddenly everybody stopped fighting, and now they're all united against the kuffar. And they all started yelling at the police, "Get out! You got your shoes on! Out! Shoes! Out!" So, which is amazing. I feel bad for these police officers. Like, what kind of a fight is this? The minute we walked in, it stopped instantly. Why? Because, I'll punch out this guy in his face in the masjid, but don't you dare walk in with your shoes on. Issues of fiqh are bigger than other issues now. This is another true story, and it's weird. 4 brothers were playing basketball. This is a true story. I know all 4 of them. We're playing basketball together. Then 2 non-Muslims came, and they said, "Hey, can we join you?" So it was 2 on 2. Now it's going to be 3 on 3. So one of the brothers says to the other, he says, "Why don't you join them, and it'll be the 3 of you against 3 of us." So that brother says, "You want me to assist the kuffar against the Muslims?" It's basketball. It's assist the kuffar against the Muslims. And basically they went at it back and forth until he punched him in his face. We don't know when to disagree. I know this is just basketball, but sometimes the disagreements in the masjid are just as petty as basketball issues. They're not aqeedah issues. They're not issues that are worth splitting the community over. They're just issues of fiqh or issues of judgment, and it's not worth it. You cannot split over things like that. We appreciate the fact that we're different. We don't all have to be the same, and that makes us strong. And if you really love the ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and if you really love the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you will love his ummah. There's no way you can love the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam so much and love him more than yourself, and then hate his ummah, hate the people that love him so much. It doesn't work like that. With that, I'll stop here. Jazakumullah khair for attentive listening. Sallallahu alaihi wa Muhammad. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Jazakumullah khairan, Sheikh Kamal, for the beautiful talk. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to benefit from what's said, inshallah, Rabbil Alameen, and to make it in our good deeds, inshallah. Now we have our Sheikh, our teacher, Sheikh Yusuf Reis, inshallah, Rabbil Alameen. He had the ijazah in hadith, and he had his knowledge through the Azhar University in Egypt. Inshallah, Rabbil Alameen, we're going to benefit from him a lot to this Sheikh Yusuf Reis, inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum. Bismillah walhamdulillah wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah. I wanted to build off of what Sheikh Kamal was saying. When we look at the life of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we find that the Prophet, his life was diverse. He dealt with politics, he dealt with economics, he dealt with giving people guidance on an individual level. He dealt with family life. He dealt with trying to resolve differences between people. The example of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, is one which the Ummah or his followers are still trying to follow. It's hard to follow everything that the Prophet Muhammad did, peace be upon him, and that's what we see with the different communities. Different groups try to engage in different activities that the Prophet did, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And we all mean well, but at the end of the day, we have to ask ourselves, when we compete with each other, what is it that is our goal in our competition? There's a quote that's very important to focus on when we talk about the whole idea of winning. And this comes back to the issue of politics. This comes back to the issue of different religious groups competing with each other. Everyone is looking to take credit. And like Sheikh Kamal was saying, sometimes in order to take credit and to be at the front of the line, to gain the power, so to speak, we may be willing to violate our own principles to be there. And that comes back to how we define competition and how we define winning. One of the most successful coaches in the US was Coach Wooden. And his teachings, I find, that come very close to what the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, wanted for us. He said that success is peace of mind, which is what is a result of you putting in your effort to the best of your ability. If you put in your effort to the best of your ability, whether you're from this political party or that political party or this group or that group, at the end of the day, if you put in your effort, there's no need to take the credit where the credit is not due. Your work will show itself at the end of the day. Your work will determine the quality of your commitment religiously, politically, and that's the reality that we have to come back to consider within ourselves. What is it that we want to be known by? Do we want to be known by the name? Do we want to be known by the photo ops? Do we want to be known by what people have said about us? Or do we want to be known by our effort that we put in? There's a story that all of you know. It's the story that's related in Sunan al-Tirmidhi, which is one of the hadith collections. The hadith collections meaning the teachings of the Prophet Muhammad. And it was related from Umar. He said that the Messenger of Allah, peace be upon him, ordered us to give charity. And at that time I possessed wealth. I said to myself, today I will outdo Abu Bakr. And we know that Abu Bakr was his companion. And he said, today I will outdo Abu Bakr. If ever there was a day to outdo him, I went with half of my wealth to the Prophet. And he said, what have you left for your family? And I said, the same amount. Then Abu Bakr came with everything he had. The Prophet said to him, O Abu Bakr, what have you left for your family? Abu Bakr said, Allah and His Messenger, meaning he gave all his wealth to the cause. So Umar, he said, by Allah, I will never do better than Abu Bakr. You have two models of competition. Now remember, Coach Wooden said, success is that you put in your effort and you do the best possible that you can do. And that will determine your position, religiously, politically. That will determine how many points you score at the end of the day. And the model that we have with Abu Bakr as-Siddiq and Umar is they competed with each other to do good. They competed each other in giving wealth. And at the end of the day, it was because they intended to do good that they were able to keep the community together. They weren't looking for the political points. They weren't looking for the name, the status. And I'll leave you with this thought in mind, that that's the problem that we have today in our religious communities. That's the problem that we have today in politics. I just came from Puerto Rico on a relief mission. That's the problem that we saw from the federal government to the local government. Everybody's competing for points. Everybody's competing to take each other out. But at the end of the day, the people are the ones that suffer. And that's the issue today in the community that we have among each other as people of religiosity. And that's the condition that we have today in the mainland U.S. If we continue with that model of competition between the different political parties and the different religious groups to the point where we destroy each other, at the end of the day, who suffers is the society. That's not from the teachings of Islam. We have a model, and I'll close with that the two companions that held the leadership in the Prophet Muhammad's community, they competed with each other for building. But at the end of the day, they were satisfied with the fact that their brother outdid himself. So if we are satisfied with the fact whether we're this group, religious group, or whether the Christians or whether the Jews, let's compete to build the society. Let's see at the end of the day who's able to construct the society the most. We already know where the divisions lie. But if we're able to leave with a clear conscience, even at the political level, at the religious level, that we did everything to ensure that we're committed to our values, then we achieve success. Other than that, we have to question ourselves and what our idea of success is, and what it is that we want to achieve by our careers and our religious commitments. And that's something that all of us have to do some soul searching. So I'll leave you with that. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.